London seems to vanish in the haze.
A complete stranger legally owned every Beatles song ever written.
It's been here. Here comes a...
Not a record label, not a corporation. One person, someone with no real connection to those songs at all. Except one dinner table conversation that Paul McCartney thought was a joke.
Even now, you know I believe in how.
And John Lennon, he couldn't defend his music, couldn't fight back, couldn't say a word, because by the time it happened, John Lennon had been dead for 5 years.
All my life, though somehow
10 moments, 10 doors that could have been closed. Nobody closed them.
I hope someday you'll join.
Number 10, the manager's death, August 27, 1967.
These days are gone and I'm not so self-assured.
On August 27, 1967, Brian Epstein died alone in his London flat.
Every now and then I feel so insecure. I know
He was 32 years old, accidental overdose. And with him went the last buffer, standing between the Beatles and a business world they had no real tools to navigate.
help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you?
Epstein wasn't perfect. Some of his early deals, especially merchandise licensing from the early Beatlemania years, were famously catastrophic.
My life has changed in so many ways.
He left money on the table that nobody ever recovered, but he understood one thing that mattered more than any single contract.
Help me if you can, I'm feeling down.
He was the person who kept the machinery quiet while they made the music. He handled the sharks. He knew which calls to take and which doors to keep shut permanently. And with him gone, those doors started opening, Dick James noticed.
I just need your light, I've never done before. Help me.
He'd been watching the internal tensions rise since the last tour in 1966.
Now I've changed my mind, I've opened up the doors.
He'd seen the atmosphere at Apple Corps, which was bleeding money and chaos. He'd heard what was coming with Alan Klein, the aggressive American business manager who was about to walk into their lives and throw everything sideways.
Hate you being around. Help me get my
And Dick James made a cold calculation. The band's days were numbered. Better to sell while the value was still holding.
need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know.
Here's what gets me about this. In the months after Epstein died, the Beatles made some of the most extraordinary music of their careers.
Every now and then I feel so insecure. I know that
The White Album, Abbey Road, Hey Jude, they were still burning. The music wasn't going anywhere, but the business around it was rotting from the inside.
help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you?
When you're that deep inside creative work, when you're in the room at 2 a.m. trying to get a harmony right, trying to find the chord that makes the whole song click, you can't always see what's happening in the rooms where the paperwork lives.
You can, I'm feeling down. And I do.
You're building something for the ages, and the people holding the financial instruments around your life are making very different kinds of decisions.
Need someone. When I was
There's a word for what the Beatles were after August 1967, exposed. Without Epstein, they were exposed.
I just need your light, I've never done before. Help me.
Not to the public, to the industry, to the people who understood the difference between performing music and owning it. Brian Epstein was the barrier, and now he was gone.
Anybody's helping anyway. Now.
Number 9, the cup of coffee that cost everything, March 1969.
She does. And if some
On the morning of March 24th, 1969, Dick James drove to a meeting, and he made absolutely certain that neither John Lennon nor Paul McCartney knew about it.
it's a love that has no
He waited until they were both out of the country. Then he sat down with Lou Grade, the television executive who'd been patiently accumulating Northern Song shares for years. And over a cup of coffee, they made a deal. Dick James and his partner Charles Silver agreed to sell their 32% stake in Northern Songs to ATV. The price was £1,525,000. Lou Grade would later tell the Times that the whole arrangement was, and this is a real quote, brewed up by both sets of directors over a cup of coffee last Monday.
She done me good.
A cup of coffee. They were selling the publishing rights to the greatest songwriting catalog in pop history over a cup of coffee. And the men who wrote every single song in that catalog weren't in the room, weren't even in the country. Lennon and McCartney found out the same way everyone else did. They read it in the morning papers 4 days later. Dick James would say for the rest of his life that he acted in everyone's best interests.
He ever really done me.
That he feared the influence of Alan Klein, that he believed the band was ending and the share price would fall, that he genuinely thought he was protecting the value of the company. And here's where it gets complicated, and I'll let you decide how you feel about this. He may have actually believed all of that, but here's what isn't debatable. John Lennon and Paul McCartney had specifically asked Dick James years earlier to give them first right of refusal on his shares if he ever decided to sell. They asked him directly. He agreed to think about it.
Don't let me down.
And when the moment came, he didn't pick up the phone. He didn't send a telegram. He drove to a meeting and sold over coffee while they were abroad. The trust of 10 years, gone in 40 minutes.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, The Fight That Failed, April to September 1969.
Comes the sun, I say, it's all right.
When John Lennon found out, he was furious. And you have to understand, Lennon furious was not a quiet thing. He didn't absorb betrayals. He went after them publicly, directly, with everything he had. McCartney was equally enraged, and together they launched a counteroffensive to buy back control of their own songs.
It feels like years since it's been here.
They needed to acquire roughly 23% more of Northern Songs, about 1.15 million shares, at a cost of around £2.4 million. To raise that kind of capital, they needed loans. They put their own shares up as collateral. They stretched Apple Corps' finances to their absolute limit.
It's all right.
They were doing all of this in the middle of recording Abbey Road and trying to hold together a band that was already disintegrating.
It's been here. Here comes the
And here's what stood between them and success. A group of City of London stockbrokers, known collectively as the Consortium, who held a crucial 15% stake that would decide who won control of Northern songs. Whoever got the consortium on their side would win. The Beatles made their case. Lou Grade made his. Grade offered cold hard cash, 40 shillings per share.
It's alright.
The Beatles' new business manager, Alan Klein, offered ATV shares, paper, not money. And the consortium, being institutional investors who cared about returns, not about who wrote "In My Life," chose the cash. By September 1969, after 6 months of legal maneuvering, negotiations, counteroffers, and genuine financial desperation, it was over.
Little darling, it's been a long, cold, long.
A TV had control of Northern songs. Stay with me on this one because the timing matters.
Little darling, it seems like years.
September of 1969, the Beatles are already fracturing beyond repair. Abbey Road has just been recorded, and it is magnificent, and they all know it might be the last thing they make together.
It feels like years since it's been here.
John and Paul are barely speaking. Their finances are under pressure from every direction.
Here comes the sun.
Their band is ending, and in the middle of all of it, the company holding every song they'd written since 1962 passed into the hands of a television corporation that had nothing to do with any of it.
Sun, 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 here it comes.
Number 7, The Surrender, late 1969.
Hey Jude.
There's a document that doesn't get discussed enough. Sometime in late 1969, John Lennon and Paul McCartney each sold their remaining personal shares in Northern Songs to ATV. The company that had just been taken from them, they exited it completely. No stake, no vote, no seat at the table. Done. The official reasoning, they didn't want to be minority shareholders in a company run by Lou Grade. If they couldn't control it, being a small voice in someone else's room was worse than walking away clean.
Remember to let her into your heart.
And on one level, that logic holds. But here's what leaving meant.
And anytime you feel the pain, hey,
It meant that from that point forward, every time a Lennon McCartney song was licensed for a film, a TV show, an advertisement, a cover version,
get started to make it.
every royalty generated on Blackbird, Come Together, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, the publisher's share went to ATV.
And make it better.
Not to the people who wrote it, not to the people who stayed up all night in cramped studios trying to find the right note, the right word, the right moment.
Don't be afraid.
The publishing income went to a television company. If you've ever built something completely from inside yourself, from nothing, from talent and sleeplessness and genuine belief,
Let me down. I found
and then watch the financial benefit of that thing flow permanently to someone who never touched it, never imagined it, never lost a single hour of sleep over it, you know what that costs. And I don't mean the money. There's a version of you that only exists in the work you made. The late night version, the stubborn version,
to make it better.
the one that insisted the bridge had to be different even when everyone said it was fine. When someone else owns the rights to the thing you made, it's always a little bit like they own a piece of that version of you too.
The minute you let her run.
Lennon and McCartney walked away, and the songs stayed. From late 1969 onward, Lou Grade and ATV held the Lennon McCartney catalog, and John Lennon had no legal mechanism to change that. Number 6, the years between 1970s to early 1980s. For about a decade, the situation just sat there. John Lennon moved to New York. Paul McCartney built Wings, then a solo career. The legal battles over Alan Klein stretched on for years. The Beatles' collective wounds were too raw, the business too tangled for anyone to come back at the ATV situation with fresh energy. But McCartney, and this detail matters enormously for what comes later, was doing something quietly in the background. He started buying other people's publishing rights. He acquired the Buddy Holly catalog. He built a music publishing portfolio the way some people build a real estate empire, methodically, over years, song by song. By the early 1980s, he had assembled a collection generating approximately $40 million a year in royalties from songs written by other people. Hold that number. $40 million a year from songs he didn't write. And all the while, every Beatles composition he had written with John, Yesterday, Hey Jude, Eleanor Rigby, Let It Be, those were still controlled by ATV. McCartney earned a songwriter's royalty every time one played, but the publisher's share, often the larger slice, went somewhere else entirely. Meanwhile, over in Australia, a corporate raider named Robert Holmes a Court was doing what men like him did in the 1980s. He was acquiring. He'd taken over Associated Communications Corporation, ATV's parent company, and with it now controlled the Northern Songs catalog. Holmes at Court had no love for the music itself. It was an asset, a number on a balance sheet. And in 1981, his predecessor, Lou Grade, briefly considered selling Northern Songs as a standalone property. McCartney and Yoko Ono, representing Lennon's estate, moved quickly. They offered £21 million for Northern Songs specifically. Grade turned them down. He wanted to sell ATV as a whole package. Northern Songs alone wasn't the deal he was making. The door was right there, and it stayed shut. Number 5, December 8th, 1980. Everything we've been talking about, the contracts, the stock exchange, Dick James, Lou Grade, the corporate machinery of publishing rights, all of it was still unresolved. On the night of December 8th, 1980. John Lennon was 40 years old. He'd been in what he called his house husband years, stepping back from the spotlight, staying home with his young son Sean while Yoko managed their business affairs. But he was back now. Double Fantasy had just come out. He was talking to journalists again, making plans, talking about the future with genuine excitement. By every account, he seemed happier than he'd been in years. At 10:49 p.m., outside the Dakota Building in New York City, he was shot 4 times. He died before midnight.
You know I believe in
And here's what I keep coming back to every single time I think about this story. Not just the loss of John Lennon, which is enormous enough on its own terms.
Don't want to leave her now.
But this specific thing, John Lennon went to his grave having never owned his own songs. The catalog that he and Paul built, more than 200 compositions. Songs that will outlast every corporation that ever touched them. Those songs were controlled by a television company in London that he never chose, never agreed to, never wanted.
I don't want to leave her now.
That Dick James sold out from under him in 1969 without a phone call.
You stick around now.
That he spent 6 desperate months fighting to get back and failed. That he spent 11 years after the loss simply living with, performing his songs, hearing them in films and on television and in advertisements.
Always think of her.
Knowing the publisher's check was going somewhere else. 11 years of that reality. And then one December night, before he could wait out the legal clock, before he could outlast anyone, before he could take one more run at getting it back, he was gone. John Lennon never got his songs back. That sentence should land heavier than it probably does. Number 4, the worst business advice in history, 1981.
Let it be, let it be.
In May 1981, Michael Jackson flew to London to work with Paul McCartney. They were starting Say, Say, Say at AIR Studios, produced of all people by George Martin, the same man who had made the greatest Beatles records. The friendship between Jackson and McCartney was genuine. Jackson spent his evenings at the McCartney family home, a Tudor estate in the English countryside.
Hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me.
The kind of place that felt nothing like the record business. Paul and Linda cooked dinner. They sat around the table and talked about music, about life, about whatever came up.
Yeah, there will be an answer, let it be.
One of those evenings, Paul McCartney pulled out a thick leather booklet. It documented every song publishing right he owned, every catalog he'd built over the previous decade, Buddy Holly, others.
It's cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me.
He showed it to Jackson and explained the economics plainly. Every time one of these songs runs on television, in a film, in a commercial, in a cover version, the publisher gets paid.
Let it be, let it be. Whisper.
And the publisher, the owner of those rights, was him. He was making approximately $40 million a year from that book.
Words of wisdom, let it be.
Michael Jackson studied the numbers, and then he looked at Paul McCartney and said, "One day I'm going to own your songs." McCartney laughed. He told Howard Stern years later, "I thought he was joking." He said, "I'm going to get yours." I said, "Oh, you're good." He wasn't joking.
Sound of music, Mother Mary comes to me.
Jackson left those dinners and immediately got serious about music publishing. He hired an attorney named John Branca. He started acquiring rights to songs by Sly Stone, Dion, others, building the muscle, learning the system.
Let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be.
Using the exact framework McCartney had laid out for him. And here's what still gets me about this. McCartney gave that advice as a gift. He wasn't arming a rival. He was sharing something with a friend at his dinner table. He meant it as generosity. But somewhere in those evenings, in that English farmhouse with George Martin producing down the road, he handed someone the precise tool that would be used against him. You can't be angry about advice you meant as a gift. but the outcome.
Let it be, let it be, let
Number 3, The Auction, 1984 to 1985.
all these places have their moments.
In 1984, John Branca, Michael Jackson's attorney, learned that Robert Holmes of court was preparing to sell ATV Music Publishing.
I love you more.
The whole thing, all 4,000 songs, including 251 Beatles compositions.
Love you more.
And here's the part of this story that almost nobody tells in full. Before Jackson made a single serious move, Branca reached out to the two people who should have been first in line to buy it.
Things that went before. I know
He called Yoko Ono, who controlled John Lennon's estate. Yoko said no. She reportedly gave her blessing specifically for Jackson, rather than a corporation, to own the music.
I love you more.
She preferred a person to a faceless entity. Whatever her full reasoning, she passed. Then Branca called Paul McCartney's lawyer. Would McCartney want to bid? The answer came back.
But of all these friends and lovers,
The catalog was too expensive. Let that settle for a second. The man who'd been trying to reclaim these songs since 1969, who built a $40 million a year publishing portfolio precisely because he understood what he'd lost.
there's affection for people and things.
Who had made a £21 million offer in 1981 that got turned down. His lawyer told Branca, too expensive. Other bidders circled Richard Branson, CBS Music Publishing.
Memories lose their meaning when I
A company called the Entertainment Company had a tentative $50 million agreement with Holmes à Court that collapsed in the summer of 1985. The process was chaotic, a deal that nearly fell apart multiple times.
with lovers and friends, I still can recall.
Jackson's team had actually opened negotiations in late 1984, offered $46 million, and then withdrew in May 1985 after the deal stalled.
There's affection for people and things.
Having already spent more than $1 million on due diligence. Then Holmes à Court came back to them in early August. Before signing, Holmes à Court called his teenage daughter, Catherine.
Stop and think about them. In my
He asked her what her favorite Beatles song was. She thought about it. She said Penny Lane. Holmes à Court pulled Penny Lane out of the deal. He gave it to his daughter as a gift. Then he sold everything else.
things that went before. I know I'll
Every other Beatles song ever written to Michael Jackson. The contract was signed on August 10th, 1985, made public 4 days later.
There are places I remember.
Number 2, August 14, 1985.
It's getting hard to be someone, but it all.
On August 14, 1985, the world found out. Michael Jackson now held the publishing rights to 251 Beatles songs. Hey Jude, Let It Be, In My Life, Come Together, Yesterday.
Feels forever.
A Day in the Life, all of it, for $47.5 million. And Paul McCartney found out the same way the rest of the world did. He wrote letters to Jackson. He tried to reach him directly. Jackson's response, by multiple accounts, was some version of, "It's just business."
Let me take you down.
He dismissed the letters, stopped answering McCartney's calls altogether. McCartney told an interviewer in 2001, "He won't even answer my letters, so we haven't talked, and we don't have that great a relationship."
It's me, but you know I know, and it's a dream.
The friendship forged at Paul and Linda's dinner table over that leather booklet, over those evenings in the English countryside, over the sessions that produced a #1 single, ended over a signed contract.
Strawberry fields forever.
Now here's the footnote in all of this that I think about more than anything else in the story.
'Cause I'm going to Strawberry.
Robert Holmes, a court's daughter Catherine, still owns Penny Lane. Her name appears in the publishing credits on every official Beatles release.
Nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields.
A teenager who, just like the song, who answered her father's question without knowing what it meant, has held that copyright ever since. While corporations fought over the rest of the catalog for 40 years, Penny Lane sat quietly with a girl who loved it. There's something almost human in that, something that feels completely out of place in everything else we've talked about today.
Let me take you down.
Now, what happened to the rest of it? In 1995, Jackson merged ATV with Sony's publishing division to form Sony/ATV Music Publishing.
Strawberry fields forever.
He took $95 million in cash and kept a 50% stake in what instantly became one of the largest music publishing entities in the world.
All these places had their moments.
On June 25th, 2009, Michael Jackson died. In 2016, Sony purchased the Jackson Estate's 50% share for $750 million.
Oh, I know I'll never.
A $47.5 million bet in 1985 had turned into $750 million for just the half. And Paul McCartney still didn't own his songs.
Some are dead and some are living.
#1, The Long Road Back, 2017 to 2026.
Imagine all the people.
Here's something most people have never heard of. Section 304, Seal C, of the United States Copyright Act of 1976.
But I'm not the only one.
It's buried deep in copyright law. Dry, technical, the kind of provision that sounds like it belongs to no one.
They say I'm a dreamer.
But it turns out it might be the most important piece of legislation in Paul McCartney's entire life. The law says this: for any work where an author assigned their publishing rights before January 1st, 1978, they have a non-waivable right to reclaim those rights starting 56 years after the copyright was originally registered. Non-waivable means nobody can take it away. It doesn't matter what the original publishing agreement said. It doesn't matter what Dick James put in that 1963 contract. After 56 years, the author can take it back, and the clock had been running since 1962.
I hope someday you'll join.
On January 18, 2017, Paul McCartney filed a federal lawsuit in the Southern District of New York against Sony/ATV.
I hope someday you'll.
He wanted a declaratory judgment confirming his right to begin reclaiming his Beatles copyrights. The first song eligible to come back, Love Me Do. Eligible date, October 5th, 2018. Sony/ATV tried to have the case dismissed. They argued the contracts were governed by English law, which would block the American termination rights.
But I'm not the only one.
The same argument that had succeeded against Duran Duran in a British court just months earlier. Then, on June 30th, 2017, the parties reached a confidential settlement.
Imagine all the people.
We don't know the exact terms. We may never know. It's But what we do know is this: Paul McCartney began exercising his termination rights. Love Me Do, October 2018.
Imagine no possession.
Then song by song, year by year, the copyrights have been coming back. The full window runs through 2026. By the end of it, Paul McCartney will have reclaimed his U.S. publishing rights to everything he wrote with John Lennon. Beginning with that first song in the Liverpool studio in 1962. 55 years, a betrayal, a corporate takeover, a failed counterbid, 11 years of watching his co-writer die without his music back. A dinner table conversation that became the most expensive advice ever given for free. A $47.5 million check, a fractured friendship, a confidential settlement, and a law most people never knew existed. But the songs are coming home, not because the system was ever fair. It wasn't. Not in 1963, not in 1969, not in 1985.
Imagine there's no country.
The system was built for people who held the paper, not the people who held the pen. But Paul McCartney outlasted it. He outlasted Dick James. He outlasted Lou Grade. He outlasted ATV and Holmes of Court. And Michael Jackson's estate and Sony's entire legal team. And if you are nodding right now, if you've ever had something real taken from you and had to wait and fight and just refuse to stop, you already know what this story is really about.
Imagine all the people.
It was never about publishing rights. It was about what happens when you make something that matters in a world that turns everything into a transaction and what it costs to get it back.
Imagine